From KUNC and the NPR network, this is In the NOCO, a daily slice of Northern Colorado news and happenings. It's Tuesday, March 12th. I'm Erin O'Toole. When KUNC senior managing editor Stephanie Daniel journeyed into the mountains to work on her podcast, The Colorado Dream, she met Javier Pineda, a snowboard instructor and Mexican immigrant. She was reporting on the housing crisis in Summit County, but as is so often the case with journalism, telling one story led to the discovery of another. She learned Pineda had launched a new program called Oso Outdoors.
And I was intrigued by Oso Outdoors and that he was teaching these free snowboarding lessons to the local BIPOC community. And I just wanted to learn more. But of course, snow sports didn't fit into a podcast about housing.
So Stephanie put the story in her back pocket until now. She sat down with In the NOCO's Robin Vincent to explain how Oso Outdoors is helping to diversify the slopes.
So, Stephanie, you're a snowboarder of color yourself. I am also. I wonder, how unique would you say this program is? I notice there's not a lot of diversity on the slopes, right? And so this feels kind of like a notable thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And as a fellow snowboarder of color, I totally agree. I'm seeing, more people of color when I go out snowboarding, but there's definitely still a lack of diversity. And I will say, in regards to this Oso Outdoors program, the program is unique in some ways and not as unique in other ways. And the reason why it's not super unique is because there has been a push to make snow sports more accessible and welcoming to communities of color. I thought that this was very important to highlight in my story, which is why I interviewed Henry Rivers, who's the president of the National Brotherhood of Snow Sports. And NBS was formed in 1973 to bring together Black ski clubs across the U.S. And today, NBS has about 58 clubs in over 45 cities. And I really wanted to get Henry's perspective on diversity in snow sports because he's part of an organization that has been around for over 50 years now. And he talked about how NBS's mission has really changed over the years. And now it supports Black elite and Olympic athletes, as well as continuing to grow youth programming and working with the Professional Ski Instructors of America to train Black instructors. Here's what Henry told me.
If I get instructed by a Black instructor, it's almost magical. It's like, okay, this guy can do it, this woman can do it, so then I know I can do it.
Now, that being said, Oso Outdoors is unique in that Javier is bilingual and bicultural, and he can teach his snowboarding classes in Spanish. When we talk about diversity, oftentimes it's just around race and ethnicity, but language is also a barrier. And as Sofia Suarez, one of Javier's snowboarding students, says in the story, it's much easier for her to learn how to ride when she's learning in Spanish.
Okay, so you're touching on several barriers to entry that make it difficult, right, for people to do these sports.
Yes, definitely. And I think another issue is skiing is expensive. And it's also a risky sport. People can get injured. So maybe you're an immigrant that doesn't have access to health insurance or quality health insurance. And then, when you're trying a new sport, it's hard to just go by yourself, right? You want to have people to go with. If you're an immigrant and your community are other immigrants, then you're going to want to, participate in these sports with them, with your community.
Right. You want to have some folks rallying behind you. This kind of program is likely having more reach and impact because of the person behind it, right? That's something that Alan Hensroth, A-Basin's chief operating officer, told you. Is that right?
Absolutely. When I was interviewing Alan, I was asking him how A-Basin is supporting this program. And the first thing that he said was that he just basically does whatever Javier tells him to do, gives him, the resources that he needs and gets out of the way. Because these snowboarding lessons it was Javier's idea, right? This is a grassroots effort that stems from Javier's passion for the outdoors and his desire to see people that look like him be included.
Our target is to create a community within our own community and not feel so left out from the sport.
Javier lives in Summit County, which is home to 4 world-class ski areas and resorts, hiking, biking, fishing, all the outdoor activities that you could want to do. And these activities should be accessible to everyone who lives in these communities. And as a person of color, it can be intimidating to start snowboarding or start hiking if you don't see another person that looks like you. You don't feel comfortable or welcome, and that's really a big barrier to overcome. And one interesting thing that Javier mentioned to me is it's not only important that he is able to teach these classes both in English and Spanish or bilingual, but also the cultural aspect of it. And he talked a bit about how, Spanish-speaking immigrants share a certain culture that binds them and how important family is.
Oftentimes, if we reflect in our own skiing experience, riding experience, we rely on having a nucleus or a group that we can be supported of. And for a lot of us, that's within our families.
And you see that a lot of his students are with their families. Sophia, that I mentioned earlier, she heard about the program and she recruited her husband, dad, 2 sisters to come and take classes with her because she wants to share her love of snowboarding and how much fun she has with her family.
Something that's been central to your work, Stephanie, is unraveling the immigrant experience and the challenges that immigrants and really all sorts of people face in trying to achieve the American dream. I wonder if you could talk about how this story fits into that focus.
Sure. And again, I just want to point to Colorado and the plethora of outdoor activities. That's what the state is known for, right? And accessing all that nature, or all that nature has to offer, I should say, should not just be available to certain people based on their skin color or income. And when it comes to the immigrant experience, I want to specifically focus on Summit County. So the last census data shows that just over 15% of residents are Hispanic and Latino. And from what I've heard, that number is actually much higher. And there's a large Spanish-speaking immigrant population. So it's important to make sure that they and immigrants that speak other languages have the same opportunities to enjoy these outdoor activities as others. And one thing that Javier wants to do is he wants to help other Spanish-speaking people, snowboarders, skiers, become instructors. And then that way they can teach other people. And the pipeline just grows and it becomes more accepting for anybody. And who knows, down the line, maybe people will be able to take snowboarding and skiing lessons in other languages, maybe French or Vietnamese or Korean. The list goes on and on. But I think that this is just opening the door to increasing diversity, not only for skiers and riders, but also instructors and also the people that work in the snow sports industry.
So Javier Pineda's work is likely to have cascading effects.
Let's hope so.
Stephanie Daniel, Senior Managing Editor and Reporter for KUNC, thanks so much for working on this story and going out on the slopes, as tough as that was, I'm sure, to add into your day.
Yeah, it was.
telling us
really
about it.
Hard to go up to the mountains on a 40-degree day and snowboard with some students.
Thank you for your service.
Thanks, Robin.
You can find Stephanie's story in English and Spanish at kunc.org. Stephanie wanted to honor her Spanish-speaking sources and ensure they had access to her reporting. That is it for us today here on In the NOCO. Robin Vincent is our executive producer. I'm your host, Erin O'Toole. We'll see you next time.